Hey everyone, my name is Kevin Brooks and I'm going to be your instructor for Ethical Issues in Computer Science. I'm actually an English professor by training, but I've been working in the field of computers and writing for most of my career, which is about the last 20 years since I graduated with my PhD from Iowa State. And I actually taught a class much like this about 15 years ago at North Dakota State University, where I taught most of the time. I co-taught it with the chair of the computer science department, so I'm looking forward to doing it again. A lot has changed in 15 years, and I'm looking forward to working through some of the issues with all of you in this class. I'm just going to give you a little tour of the site that I've set up here. Appreciate your feedback at any point if things aren't working for you. You can see I'm looking at it as a student, so hopefully your view will be pretty similar to this. Hopefully there'll be a video in here where there's an announcement, or at least a text message when I'm done with this video. I'll post announcements here pretty regularly. Most of the material you can find in the content section. And so I'll try to go through some of this in a way that makes sense for all of you. The syllabus and schedule, we'll start with that, are available here. I've set them up as PDFs. I won't open all of them and go through all of them. The important thing to know about the syllabus is that it also contains the assignment description, so make sure you take a look at that and take a look at the assignments. I'm really going to ask you to do a very similar thing each week, which is really just discuss the topic at hand. But I'm also going to ask you to discuss it from different ethical perspectives, and that's where the understanding ethics comes in and becomes really important. This framework for ethical thinking is in many ways a key document, or here it's called an Introduction to Ethical Thinking. Again, I'm not going to walk through all of that with you, but you're going to see here that there's 5 approaches to ethics that we're going to work on throughout the semester. So the utilitarian approach, the rights approach, the fairness or justice approach, the common good approach, and the virtue approach. And then the document talks about how you're going to put all of those together. One thing that I don't do as a professor is that I don't lecture, so I'm not going to prepare a lecture on each of those approaches. I'm going to ask you to read that document. You'll see that I also have linked out to other sources if you want to know more about it. You can look up each of those approaches in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. I'm going to try to use video whenever I can in this course, and I've found a good video explaining utilitarianism online. And so if you want to know more about that approach, you can find that here. But again, I won't be going through each of those. I won't be preparing a lecture for them. I think you will learn best by trying them and by discussing them. My role at Lakehead University is actually as experiential learning coordinator, and certainly one of the fundamentals of experiential learning is that you will learn best by doing and by trying and by working together. And so you're going to see that you're going to be working in groups throughout the course. And that takes us to this document, the group work, video assignment, and other details. So as you come in here, you're going to find that you're in a particular group. Talk about that a little bit here. I'm going to ask you within your group to identify a role that you're going to take. Most of the groups are going to be 6, some of them are going to be 5, and you can combine 5 and 6 into one role if you're in one of the groups of 5. I've got a little bit of information here on group stages. I'm sure you had to work in teams before, work in groups. I don't know if anybody's ever talked to you about how groups have a pretty typical dynamic where you want to spend some time getting to know each other, forming. You're going to have some conflict called storming. Hopefully that will result though in some norming, deciding how you want to work best together, and then once you've got all of that figured out, you'll be performing at your best level. I'll let you read through that in a little bit more detail. You're going to have an option to use the discussion board and just do an asynchronous chat about the topics each week, or what I hope most of you do most of the time is take up the opportunity to turn those discussions into a video discussion. And there's lots of different ways to do that as well, or at least a few different ways that I've outlined here. The one that I'm recommending is to have a Zoom discussion so that you can be in your own apartment or somewhere on campus, and your group can decide to meet at a particular time, and you all can join the conversation through Zoom video conferencing. I think that'll be relevant for most of you. You'll probably end up working in situations where you're video conferencing with other employees in other places around the world. I lived in Fargo, North Dakota for 20 years, as you might have picked up from the North Dakota State University piece, and they have the second largest Microsoft campus in the world. And those employees that I got to know were pretty regularly having video conferences with their colleagues in Europe and in Asia, as well as in Redmond, Washington. And so video conferencing becomes a pretty big part of many high-tech jobs. There's some other on-campus ways that you can do it as well, and those are described here. And with all of these things, there's probably ways of doing it that I don't even know about or haven't tried out. Obviously, there's things like Google Hangout and Skype. There's probably things in the ATAC that you could use. So my goal is not to tell you use Zoom. My goal is to tell you have a conversation and record it. And you can figure out the best way that that works for your group. So the key elements to the course are here in the content section, the syllabus and schedule, some resources for understanding ethics, the group work. The course schedule, while it is here, is spelled out in more detail under course schedule. And you can see that I've got it set up for tomorrow, January 7th. And I've gone into more detail here than you would see in the other schedule that I've posted. And what I try to do for each week is kind of frame the issue and give you some ideas about how to think about it. I try to, in this one especially, try to give you some prompts about how you might use those different ethical perspectives. And then I remind you here to make sure that you assign some roles and work on it. And make sure that your group is working as effectively as possible. What you're going to do in terms of actually getting the work done is eventually come to the discussion board. So another way you can get here is just to click discussions. Let me go that way as well. I'll show you that you get the same thing. There's a place for open discussions for the whole class, but mainly you'll be working in your group discussion, and you'll click on that. And you'll see down at the bottom, I'm guessing this is going to be a little bit different. Even though I'm in the student mode here, I'm not in a group as a student, so I'm seeing all 9 of the groups listed here. I'm guessing that when you come in, all you'll see is your group. So if you're in group 7, that's all you will see right there. Then you'll get into your team discussion. I'm actually asking you to do 2 things for the first week. I'm asking you to introduce yourselves on the discussion board here, including post a picture. That's me in the middle if you didn't figure that out already. And then you're going to introduce yourselves through here. Part of that is just to get familiar with the discussion board. Then after that, what I'm asking you to do is to go and make a video for the first week to make sure that you understand how both of these technologies work. So in that case, you might come back here, or you might just bookmark where to find Zoom LU, and you'll come here, and one person in the group will be the host, and we'll set that up, and the folks will come in and represent the different ethical perspectives. So again, that was, you can come at it through the discussion board. You can find it here. You'll be able to find your specific group by clicking on the discussion and finding it down here. Now, if you have any questions, and I'm guessing that you might, I'm going over this pretty quickly, and again, trusting that you will learn best by getting in here and finding your way around. You'll notice that the second thing on the course schedule is that I will have a Zoom, kind of a Google Hangout, but I'm going to do it through Zoom on Tuesday, and every Tuesday from 2 until 2:40 or 2:45, I'll be online and can talk with you there. You're also welcome to come up and talk with me. I'm on the 5th floor of the library in the Teaching Commons. But if you want to embrace the spirit of the class, you can come and join me there and also get a little bit more familiar with the technology. The class is pass-fail, so when you get to the grades, you'll see that I've graded them out of 5, and I've got a rubric that you'll also see that talks about the importance of making sure that you draw on the ethical perspectives each week, that you draw on the readings or the video that I've assigned for each week, that you've given it a good faith effort to really understand the issue from multiple perspectives. Really important to not come into each topic with just, this is what I think, really important to come in and say, this is how a utilitarian thinks about this. This is how somebody who takes a common good approach thinks about this. Really trying to consider all of the dimensions of the topic of the week. So I'll be giving your group a score out of 5 each week just to give you some legitimate feedback so you can get better at this and get better about the ethical thinking. But in the end, it'll be ultimately a pass-fail for the grade. And so if you are really struggling, or mainly if you're just not doing the work, there is unfortunately an opportunity to fail this class. But I will do my best to keep you all on track and to support you throughout this. I think we'll have a really good, interesting time talking through these issues. As you'll see from my syllabus, computing ethics, or being a technologist, as Jerome Lanier says, means being an ethicist. So some of the best minds in computer science think that you also have to be a great computer scientist. You also have to be a great ethicist. It's part of the job. And so I hope you, even though this class isn't graded for you, that you all take it seriously enough to get a lot out of it. This video has gone on probably a little bit longer than I wanted it to, so I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to make a second one that talks about week 1, and then in the future I'll talk about each week to try to add a little bit, but not just repeat what I've written here, give you a little bit more context for that. So I'm going to stop it here. I'm also testing out the technology. I'm new to D2L. I've been a Blackboard user for the last 20 years. I've been teaching online for about 15 years, if that's important for you. So I'm pretty comfortable in this environment. I hope all of you feel comfortable in it or get to that point by the end of the semester. And watch for me later. Thanks.